And we're back. Thank you for noticing. Took me this long to notice that there's no sound. Thank you for noticing it. Anyway, I have to do this all over. How funny, silly is this? Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today. This is Business Focus Live. We talk about business related topics as well as news from here around the world. So, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. So, let's get started. So what I was saying earlier for much of the recordings that people could not hear, as mentioned, we'll be talking about different topics that been going on this past week or so. None more so than Apple's uh, topping the chart in terms of market valuation. That's how valuable the company is, valued at $2 trillion, which is no small feat. So we'll talk about that. Next is we'll be talking about Google's monopoly in terms of its advertisement domination, obviously generating a lot of its revenue by controlling the market in itself. Not totally, but majority they do hold that in control. Then next is we'll be talking about Netflix problem with shows. There were reports that Netflix is canceling successful show. Is that the case? Are they doing this to spite the viewers, or is there a more logical reasoning behind this? And next is since we're in the YouTube platform, speaking of scams that cybercrime has been proliferating for quite some times, and YouTube is not immune to that situation. So one has to be aware, be prepared to not to be baited in terms of when you're dealing with nothing in life is for free. So you want to be careful when people offer you a free product. Just give your personal info here. And lastly, we'll be talking about how based on the previous TV series, a game that's converted to a TV series, which HBO has done a tremendous job so far. Another TV series that's based on another game that's going to be released later this year, hopefully this year, that I'm looking forward is Fallout TV series, which is based from the game Fallout in itself, which was published by Bethesda Games Studios. Hopefully, they'll able to capture the same magic that the people who worked on The Last of Us, not similar to how they destroyed the franchise for the Lord of the Rings of Power, and even the Halo TV series from Paramount. Is it Paramount or I forgot which studios? But either way, so we'll talk about that. So let's get it started for the second time around. Okay, and we're back. So as mentioned earlier, we were talking about some of the companies. If you're looking to invest your money and to grow it, obviously they looking for companies which is to invest, and none more so if you have cash to spare. I think Apple is one of the best companies you can invest today. And it's not just me saying this. One of the most prolific investors of all time, Warren Buffett, his portfolio in terms of investing in Apple, he has one of the highest portfolios that he's invested as of late here, which sells a lot. Meaning, he believes in the company in terms of what do you call this? Of how far Apple can perform. So, looking at the article here, so according to TechTimes.com, Apple markets value tops a combination of Coca-Cola, you have Ford, Disney, and 8 other corporations. Meaning, combine all of those, it pales in comparison to where Apple has reached. And it's pretty surprising. Obviously, it's a combination of having a tremendous product and having command of its platform in terms of the Apple App Store, offering other businesses, has enabled to reach this height for the company here. So if we were to compare the other tech companies as we mentioned, or other US companies here, to name a few, so here are some of the top 12 companies in the world in terms of capitalization, as mentioned earlier. You have Coca-Cola, uh, is worth close to 260 billion. You have Starbucks, that's north of $100 billion. Nike close to 200 billion. Walmart close to 400 billion, which is pretty interesting. That's how big Walmart is. Exxon is close to 500 billion. AT&T Corporation, the telecommunications giant, is north of 100 billion. Visa is close to 500. Disney company is worth close to 200 billion. McDonald's, the fast food giant, is close to 200 billion. Ford Motor Company is only a measly $50 billion. Netflix, the streaming giant, is uh, a little over $150 billion. And compare that, it pales miserably to where Apple is, which is close to north of $2 billion here. Hello to to people who are able to join me today. Yeah, it's I couldn't schedule it because I had difficulty with my computer setup, so I've been struggling if I'm able to do my live stream today. So hopefully you can bear with me and some technical difficulties. Thanks to Dreadnought who was able to notice it. I was almost going to finish the whole recording without any audio. That would be a major disaster here. Anyway, continuing with our discussion here. So with Netflix, having problem in terms of the decrease of its subscribers last year, they're trying to find ways on how to curtail that problem. And one of the main things that they did is limiting or eliminating the sharing of password, which they allowed it to do for so long, and they're only trying to curtail it recently because of the dip in subscribers. And not considering that you've created some terrible shows or even films. Obviously no one's going to watch any content if you don't have compelling case. And I myself is subscribed to the Netflix streaming services, but not necessarily for watching new shows rather than watching older content, which I tend to enjoy more. And I like watching TV series, movies that I've enjoyed in the past year. But obviously that's not the case for everyone here. So let's take a closer look as to why. Where was it? Why did they cancel shows here? So let's take a closer look. So according to techspot.com, Netflix boss stating that the service has never canceled a successful show. Now, obviously, logic dictates here. One would think that if a show is successful in terms of many viewers, eyeballs watching the content in terms of hours being viewed, then that would indicate if it's a popular show. And no matter how a small subset of the audience is enjoying the content, if the majority is not watching it, obviously it won't make sense for the studio, in this case the streaming giant, to continue spending tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars to continue producing the show. On the other hand, not creating tremendous content, like in the case, one of my favorites is The Witcher, which is starred by Henry Cavill. But sad to say, that's going to change, and I have a stinking feeling that it's going to go down south quickly once they change the main character or the main actor playing the role, and diverging from the main story arc, which is supposed to be focusing on Geralt rather than focusing on Ciri and and Yennefer in the main storyline in the game and in the books themselves. So it's been a hit and miss for the streaming giant, and they cannot ill afford to make a lot of missteps. It's not as if they're in the same boat as Disney. Obviously Disney has a plethora of diversified investments in different industries, whether it's in the streaming services, in the movies, in what else? In sports, even in theme parks, that they can withstand any difficulties that they're currently in. And for Netflix here, obviously, if their subscribership continues to dip and competitors are able to catch up or even overtake them, that could be a big miscalculation for the business here, trying to cater to a smaller audience rather than the bigger audience that that's available to everyone. Anyway, continuing with our discussion, Next is, as mentioned, it's not just in online problems with cybersecurity, but in general, people are trying to to scam individuals if you're not aware of certain modus operandi, so to speak, of how they try to take advantage, tricking people thinking that you're winning something, then you have to give information or pay a small amount, and then never hear from them. And now it's been more prominent now in the YouTube space here. So according to techtimes.com, a new YouTube scam promises payment for clicks while collecting personal info. So obviously, for many of us, if you're not doing anything, if you're stuck at home, doing nothing, clicking likes and so forth could generate, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of dollars in exchange of your personal information. Some may realize it, some may not realize it, but giving access to your personal information is much more valuable than any clicks or amount of money that you're going to get here. And obviously, it goes beyond not just the clicks here. I think there was an issue in YouTube where in the comment section of many of the big content creators, wherein they would use the names of the main creator and state that if you won, if you join in this contest that you won, you just have to click this, give your information, so they would give you this giveaway. And it caused a lot of controversy. And obviously, the question is, what is YouTube going to do about it? And obviously, for this damages the images of many of content creators, because people are being duped thinking that they're winning or getting something for free, and yet they're getting conned into giving their personal information or even money, which is even worse here. Now, in this case, the modus here is potential victims are being contacted via WhatsApp or a potential YouTube scam. So obviously, what they're doing here is trying to find ways to funnel people to trick, whether it's using your smartphone, texting you, calling you, cold calling, or even in any social media plus. So that's why everyone has to be aware of, if you hear anything that's offering for free, you just have to join. Always be, forewarned that, not everything in life is for free. And if you're not careful, even my dad, he always tries to tell me, there's an offering here in this message that I got. Oh, so how do I join it? Nope, avoid doing that, because obviously there's always a catch to everything. If the fact that they're asking for personal information, they want you to visit their establishment, whatever the case may be, there's always a hitch or a catch to everything. And if you're not wise to it, the cost of at the end would be much bigger to you than to them. So obviously, avoiding them at all cost is important. Now, obviously, the guys that they're using is obviously appetizing in terms of lulling everyone that you can make a quick buck is always the case here. But that's not reality here. You have to work hard for it or work smart for it in any aspects that you want to generate more income or extra income for your case here. So everyone has to be aware of that dilemma there. Anyway, next is we'll talk about the TV series that's being discussed, as mentioned, regarding the new TV series of Fallout. Now, I was apprehensive from the beginning regarding, many streaming services are offering different genres in their streaming platforms, but the question is, how accurate are they offering those contents here? And in the case of many earlier TV series from Netflix, you have Cowboy Bebop, which is failed miserably. I mean, it was okay, but compared to the original animated story arc, it pales in comparison. Then obviously you have The Witcher, which Henry Cavill tried to stay true to the story, but they tried to change it in latter seasons. Obviously, that's why he quit the show. And then you have the Rings of Power. Compared to the Rings of Power, to the original Lords of the Rings story arc, it's nowhere near to where the original story intention was meant to be. They used the what do you call this, the known IP, but they created liberty so much that it diverted from the main story arc on how it was meant to be. Imagine if Harry Potter's succeeding films, they try to do change so much of the content, I don't think Miss J.K. Rowling would be too glad to hear about that, and it would be as successful as this. But anyway, going back here, so I have high hopes since the release of The Last of Us, the TV series, which it's looking promising, and hopefully in the Fallout, even more interesting for the Fallout, there is high potentiality for it to have a longer story arc here, because obviously based on the premise of what happened in the Fallout games, that you could create any story from the beginning and span it for several seasons. Now for the Last of Us, that would be too difficult, because based on the game, they've only released two games, and the sequel was very divisive in terms of the audience. So for the Fallout, there's potential here. The question is, who's going to create the story? Who are the main actors playing the main main role in this case, especially the one who's going to come out from the vault, and how's the story going to develop? It would be very interesting here. And obviously you're allowed to create liberties in terms of diversifying from some story arc, or even create totally new. But the question is, do you stay true to the overall theme of what Fallout series has been? And obviously if you've played any of the Fallout series, I've played Fallout 3, I played parts of Fallout 4, and I haven't even started playing Fallout Vegas. And don't get me started with the Fallout 76 debacle. You create certain teams there, and there's a lot of potential there to succeed, and create several story arcs or different storylines that would be compelling for the audience here. And the question here is, how will they translate that in the TV series or in live action here? And obviously in the photos here, let me show you. Obviously having to recreate it, that looks close enough. I think the looks and feel is much more important for me anyhow, rather than just aesthetically it looks nice, but in terms of the story, the people that they're creating is not even near close to where the game is. And I think it's going to piss off a lot of fans, and obviously for casual viewers, they're not going to be able to appreciate, because if they ask those people who are familiar with the game, then they would tell mouth them in terms of, no, don't waste your time, it's not even near close to the source material. Yeah. Well, he's hoping that they're able to capitalize on it, which I think they could. I mean, especially for this series, I think personally that whoever is going to be the main protagonist here, whether it's a male or female, which is a possibility there, and obviously expand similar how The Walking Dead started. I think they could do something like that. Start from he goes out of the vault, and then exploring the city, meeting new characters, people, and then you can add more supplemental characters to add more breadth to the story here. So we'll see here if they're able to capitalize on this one. Anyway, for our last story, in terms of Google's domination in the market. Oh yeah, in terms of, yes, I was sad to hear that when Henry got, not say got booted, but he quit the series, right? But interestingly enough, Henry Cavill will always have work because he's very in demand in terms of his popularity, and I think he's taking the mantle on the main character for the Warhammer game, so which is very interesting. And for those who missed out on him, it's they're going to miss him tremendously. And I don't know who's going to play the next Superman here, because playing the titular Superman character, there's a certain persona, and it's never easy. And think about it, for me, my favorite is still Christopher Reeve. He's the epitome of what Superman should be, the idea, the personality, and the build that he has. Now obviously Mr. Cavill is more muscular, more bulk up in terms of the persona, but that's for the current generation here. But people may have different favorites in terms of who plays the best Superman character, and I think he'll be fine. But for those who think that he can't do a good job of they didn't even have a sequel to the Man of Steel, which is kind of disappointing if you think about it. So how they going to reboot that and integrate that with the latest movie for the Flash paradox? So that's another issue altogether. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, as mentioned, the dominance of one company in any industry can have a detrimental effect to businesses, even consumers alike. And in the case of Google's dominance, not just in the search engine, but in terms of how they market the ads that they generate for the business, they have to- technically, sole control of the marketplace, both on the supply and the demand side, which I'll show you in a bit. So in this case, the DOJ, or Department of Justice in the United States, is suing Google for its ad dominance and wants to break up the company, which I think for the government, which its main role is to protect the interests of the citizens, and with the likes of Google, Amazon, even Apple, they need to be broken up on the perspective that obviously the more consolidated the company is, similar to what happened to Microsoft when they faced their antitrust case, that they had to lay low for several years and decades. And obviously for Google, they're even growing even stronger here. Now, what do you mean in terms of its dominance in the market share here? So here's a good look at the how Google's business works. So there's two sides here. You have the sell side inventory. Obviously, you have to offer this based from the website. Then there's the buy side demand from the advertiser who's considering making a purchase so that they can attract here. What do you notice here? In all aspects, from the sell side to the buy side, Google has a stake in all of those aspects. And if you look at the sell side here, you can see Google owns DoubleClick for publisher, which is accounts to more than 90% of the market share. That's dominance in a nutshell. And then on the buy side here, you have two aspects here. You have advertisers ad network for small and large advertisers, which they have 80% of the market share. So again, dominance again. Or they have demand side platforms, agencies, large advertisers, so for larger groups, which they have roughly 40%, not a significant bunch, but if you add it all up, it amounts to a significant chunk of the market share. And here's the interesting part. And you notice here, where do they interact? Obviously, they use Google's Ads Exchange platform to interact with one another, and which they have a dominant position of more than 50% of the market share, which is a pretty significant hold on the market share. So obviously, if you're trying to compete with Google, they would always prefer their platform or their side over others. And obviously, if you're trying to compete, you have nowhere else to do, and not even being able to compete in the likes would be difficult. And obviously, it's up to the governments to level the playing field, either break up the company as Google, whether they're a search engine company, or are they a cloud service company, or in this case, are they in the advertising business altogether, which is a lot of business for them. That's why they earn billions upon billions of dollars on a yearly basis in terms of revenue here. Question here is, will this have any dent in terms of suing them? Because typically when they sue them, there's nothing that even pans out to, or close to actually being broken up. And it was how many decades ago the last time a company was broken up because of antitrust issue here? So is it more on posture, showing face for the citizens, but nothing's to be done here? So we'll have to wait and see in terms of what happens here. Anyway, I think that's about it. So thank you for joining me today. So if you have any questions regarding today's topics or comments, just leave it down below, and I'll try to get back to you. As always, a lot of interesting things discussing. We'll hopefully share with you again next week. Hopefully same time and same day. Otherwise, as always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.